Picture the scene. It's 1990 and Super Mario is the undisputed king of video games. The Western world is waiting for the release of Super Mario 3, and in America, the Italian plumber is more recognisable to kids than both the President and Mickey Mouse. Not bad for a guy whose regular vocation involves poking around the business end of a lavatory. Inspired by Mario's ubiquitous status as a mascot, Sega of Japan came up with a mascot of their very own. After trying out several different ideas and concepts, they settled on a blue hedgehog named Sonic. As it always is here on the Retrocast, the rest is history. Sonic's 90s attitude was a success, which caused other developers and publishers to come up with their own mascots, mostly to very little success. It seems that everybody wanted to be as cool as Sonic and as iconic as Mario, coming up with these wild characters based on the strangest of life forms. In this list you will see the weirdest of mascot characters as I count down from 10 to 1 based on how ridiculous they are. The quality of the games these mascots feature in have no effect on their placement in this chart, which is good because most of these games are quite frankly terrible anyway. On with the show. 1993's Jurassic Park made dinosaurs cool. They were all over movies, TV and of course video games, including Radical Rex. Not only was he a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but he also breathed fire and had a skateboard. Nothing unusual there, at least not in the early 90s. By the time this relatively average platformer came out in 1994, pretty much everyone was fed up with the extreme attitude persona of every character of the time, so it's no surprise that this is one mascot that soon became extinct. I am funny. If The Dark Knight is anything to go by, everybody loves bats. And let's face it, there aren't a lot of other famous bats out there, unless you count Batfink. Enter Sunsoft's mascot, Aero the Acrobat. This circus-performing mammal starred in a relatively decent platformer that was bright, colourful and had some really great music. It was good enough to earn not only a sequel, but a spin-off as well, and Aero himself ended up as Sunsoft's official mascot for the remainder of the 16-bit generation. While he disappeared soon after, he strangely reappeared in a Game Boy Advance port of the original game in 2002, while both games were added to the original Wii's Virtual Console in 2010. Has there ever been a mascot that has failed as badly as Bubsy the Bobcat? He was tipped to be a multimedia sensation even before the release of his first game in 1993, as a cartoon pilot had been developed and aired around the same time. Needless to say, the show wasn't picked up for a full series based on this awful tune. As for the 4 games that bear his name, they're infamous in terms of quality. While the developers aimed to beat Sonic the Hedgehog at his own game, trying to mimic the feel of Sega's classic, the execution was somewhat lacking. The jumping was far too floaty, the collision detection was awful, and the levels were just dull. Bubsy had quite a bit of character thanks to the cartoony visuals and digitised speech, but after 4 games of mediocre to awful quality, this yarn-collecting feline disappeared without trace. Until November 2015, however, when a collection of his first 2 games appeared on Steam Greenlight.
What could possibly go wrong?
You said it, you grinning cretin. James Pond is utterly ridiculous. He started life as a spoof of James Bond, and by his second game he became Robocod, a bionic fish that had to save the North Pole and Santa from an enemy known as Dr. Maybe, who has stolen all the toys in Santa's workshop. So what abilities does James get from being encased in a bionic suit? Well, he can stretch really long to grab onto stuff. Still, it's no less stupid than starring in an odd athletics-based game named the Aquatic Games, which actually happened. He's arguably the most popular and long-lasting hero on this list, but let's face it, Sonic the Hedgehog's entire existence is simply ridiculous. Hedgehogs are not known for their desire to collect rings, jump high, or even run fast. Look at Mitzi here. Does she look like she's going to rescue a bunch of trapped animals from a portly scientist that's obsessed with eggs? The answer you're looking for is no. Still, despite being not very much like a hedgehog at all, Sega created one of the most iconic characters of the 1990s, and one that Sega effectively used to push the 16-bit console wars to the limit, even surpassing Nintendo in various territories at some point. While he's fallen on harder times since those heady early days, he's still a fan favourite and has managed to escape an extended stay on the Isle of Misfit Mascots, unlike everybody else on this list. It's a bloody dolphin that saves the Earth from aliens. Yet somehow this isn't enough to be the most ridiculous hero on this list. He swims, he talks to other aquatic life via sonar, and also solves puzzles using his intelligent dolphin mind. Oh yeah, and he travels through time. Bloody dolphins. Now we're getting somewhere. This is Bronn Key, who is indeed a Brachiosaurus, and he has asthma. No, really. This game was part of a series of educational games on the Super Nintendo that engaged with children over ailments such as diabetes, asthma, and the danger of smoking. The character might have been ridiculous, the game might have even been a bit crap, but at least its heart was in the right place, teaching kids the importance of how to avoid asthma attacks, as well as informing children on proper inhaler use. And he also had a sidekick called Tracky the Triceratops. You literally cannot make this shit up. It's a chicken. In a platform game. It hurts my brain just a bit too much to even think of the logic behind this. Besides, there are levels that take place within cheese. Bloody cheese levels with a chicken inside. And you can collect and use, get this, jam bombs. Oh, and as a PR stunt, the game's product manager ran in the 1993 Christchurch by-election on behalf of the Alfred Chicken Party, and came second to last with 18 votes, 2 votes higher than the Rainbow Party. Yes, 18 people actually voted for a political party based around a chicken in a video game. A goddamn chicken. Jesus Christ. Shiny Entertainment's Earthworm Jim was this close to being a bona fide star. He had 3 games, a range of action figures, and a cartoon series that lasted for 23 episodes over 2 seasons. It was actually pretty good. In this very same cartoon, he was even voiced by Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer Simpson himself. He even showed up in other games, including the Nintendo 64's Clay Fighter 63 1/3, and the PC version of Japanese 3D fighter Battle Arena Toshinden. The first 2 games were wonderfully surreal and were just a breath of fresh air at the time. Still, the idea of a common earthworm accidentally climbing into a bionic suit that fell from the sky and fighting enemies such as the psychotic Crow to save a princess what's-her-name from an antagonist named Queen Slug for a butt. Insanity. Absolute insanity. When I think of video game mascots, the only thing that could possibly be weirder than a bionic earthworm is a flea. Oh wait, but this flea is apparently rather frantic, and it stars in an absolutely terrible SNES game with poor controls and really dull levels. I've played this game a few times over the years and it's never been a pleasurable experience, especially as afterwards I get the same sort of regretful feelings usually experienced after one too many Jaeger bombs. But at least you can spin around like the Tasmanian devil, and that sure is something, huh? That was the top 10 most ridiculous animal mascots. I hope you learnt something new today, and you might be able to learn even more by subscribing to the God is a Geek YouTube channel. There's lots of stuff there, not just about old games, but quite a lot of stuff about those newfangled PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC and Wii U games that I've heard so very much about. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another Retrocast, and I'll be giving you some more reasons to be cheerful next week, so stay tuned. Goodbye.
Should have backed the God is a Geek Patreon.